Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. Happy Thankful Thoughtful Thursday. And welcome again to Live It Out Inc. Thursday Night Podcast. Come in, come in. As you guys are coming in, I want you to click like, click share, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. Yes, tonight is another mental health check in. Tonight we're talking about faith and stress. I have something amazing for you guys. Some very good information. This brother that I want you guys to meet. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. But before we get started, we have to do our mental health check-in. So go ahead and check in if you're on. Let me know that you checked in today. Did you have a balanced meal? Are you feeling okay? Did you do something for yourself today that just benefits you? Did you take care of yourself today? So, if you guys are on, if you're listening, just type in anything to let me know what you did for yourself today that helped you have a better day, a good day. What did you do mentally, physically, or emotionally for yourself? Not for your family, your husband, your kids, your job, just for you. Tonight, we're talking faith and stress. And yes, stress is a silent killer. It's the number one silent killer among especially African Americans. So we're going to talk a little bit about stress, different types of stress, how to cope with stress, and how do we deal with stress when it comes to our faith. Um, so if you guys are ready for Live It Out Inc. Thursday Night Podcast, you guys have been an amazing group of people. We really appreciate everyone that tunes in on Thursday. We really do. Thank you so much. We're always trying to get information into the community. We're always trying to give you guys resources, and we're always trying to love on you guys to help you take care of your mental health because we are all on this mental health journey together. So, without further ado, I have a very special guest in the house tonight that is going to join us. So, make sure you listen carefully. If you have questions as we go along, please feel free to type them in the feed. I'm quite sure he will be more than happy to try to answer them. But without further ado, I'm going to bring my brother, Dr. Darrell Hall from Backstage. Hi, Darrell.
Hey,
Dr.
how y'all
Hall.
doing? What's going on?
Welcome to Live It Out Inc.
Thank you. I'm
Thanks
glad
for
to be here.
joining us. So before we get started, I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do. I know you. I do. I really do know you.
Okay.
You just don't know that I know you, but I know you.
Okay.
So just tell the people a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Yeah, my delight. Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much, for this invitation, for this opportunity to support what you're doing and to encourage the people that you're reaching. My name is Dr. Darrell Hall. I am born and raised in Atlanta. I'm a native AT alien
Hey,
and
that's what's up. That's what's
yeah,
up.
educated in Atlanta public school systems. Graduated from Mays High School in 2004 and stayed in the city. I'm married, been married now for almost 14 years. We have
Awesome.
three sons. I got a seventh grader, a fifth grader, and a kindergarten, all boys. Just recently finished my doctorate in ministry. I'm a preacher and a pastor. I started preaching at 17, and I serve at a great church here in the Atlanta area, and been at that church my entire life, and serve on the staff there. And just recently wrote a book as well, and looking forward to that coming out next spring. So
Okay.
to kind of impact the world in that way as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, so you're busy.
You
You're
know
busy.
what? Yeah.
We actually brought we played basketball at your church, Jackson
Okay.
Memorial.
Yep.
And we brought our youth ministry over there because we was trying to um what you call it, scaffold y'all youth ministry. When we started
Yeah.
building our youth ministry, we came over there and spent a little time with you. So
Yep.
I know who you
Yep.
are.
Yep. That's what's up.
So tonight, Dr. Hall, we're gonna talk about stress
All
and
right.
faith.
Okay.
So just to get the stress part out the way, what is stress? What do you think stress is?
Yeah. I can speak as a person and a human being who's experienced stress. My expertise is not in the field of mental health, but in the field of faith, I'll be glad to share.
Okay.
But I think about when I think of stress, I think stress is my body's natural response to some kind of stimuli, something in my environment that is happening or in my mind that is happening that is either unhealthy for me or indicating that I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing or something around me is happening that I sense shouldn't be happening. I think it's the body's natural response to, negative, unsafe, unhealthy stimuli.
Exactly. And I mean, just me reading up and researching on it, that's exactly what it is. The way our body responds to a certain situation, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally, our body's going to respond to that stress. Now, in doing this research, just letting y'all know, I'm not a doctor. I don't have that doctor by in front of my name. And I'm not a mental health expert. It's just I'm just on this mental health journey, and on this journey, I've been learning so much. And about stress, I learned it was four types of stress. Like when you're frustrated, and when you are in conflict, and when it's pressure, and when change happens. Like a lot of times when things change, we get stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
um when we get frustrated, a lot of people don't have the coping skills to
Yep.
deal with a situation, and it makes them frustrated, and they get stressed out. And a conflict, anytime conflict is negative, it's stressful. And then when people apply pressure, when it's like you got to meet a deadline, you got to do this, you got to do that. Some stress, I was reading that some stress was not all bad,
Right.
um, because it pushes you to the limit to get things done. But for the most part, and we have some common stress, like when it comes to job, family, money, and illnesses and stuff like that. That's a common, I mean, that's everyday life. We
Right.
get stressed out about the job, the family. If we get ill, some of us feel like I can't even afford to get sick. If I get sick, I'm stressed out. So the pandemic, the coronavirus got a lot of people stressed out.
Yeah.
And when it comes to financial situations. So let's jump into the faith part,
Okay.
which is your expertise. So, how does faith help us cope with stress? Well, first of all, what does the Bible say about stress?
Yeah. I think I'm so glad we're having this conversation and not because you or me, neither one of us are experts in this field, but we have experienced it as people. And so we live it in a real way, you know what I'm saying? And so we can speak
Exactly.
by experience. When we think about scripture, I think sometimes we assume the Bible doesn't say things about subject matters like stress when really when you read the stories of the people in the Bible, they were clearly under stressful
Exactly.
scenarios. My favorite book of the Bible when it comes to subject matters like this is the book of Psalms. So if you read the Psalms, you'll realize, yeah, there are a bunch of poems or songs, lyrics. It's like the hymn book for Jews. But the inspiration behind these psalms was stressful situations for the writers of this music. And so, uh David, when he was on the run from his son
Oh yeah.
Absalom, his son was trying to kill him and take his throne, and you know, and was just really creating issues. David had to leave the capital, and him and you know, his team had to leave town and leave the country and hide out. That's a stressful time. So if he writes a psalm about that, that indicates his spiritual response to stress. Or when Saul was trying to kill him,
Oh
throwing
yeah.
javelins at him for no reason. Some of that stress was brought on to him by people from the outside in. Some of that stress was self-inflicted when he stole Bathsheba and set up Uriah and had him
Oh
killed.
yeah.
We see his response to that in Psalm 51. And so what the Bible doesn't necessarily quote unquote say anything about stress, except that it gives us the space as human beings to experience stress and to emote in our worship, for our emotions and our worship to reflect where we are. Jesus didn't use the word stress, but he did use
Yeah.
the word trouble. He said,
Okay.
in this world, you will have trouble.
Trouble. Yes.
But be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Trouble, stress.
Stress, depression, anxiety, all of it. Yeah. Well, that's good news for one. So
It
we
is.
do know that Jesus can relate to the stress that we do have during today's time. So with that being said, so how does faith help us cope with this stress? So in our faith.
Yeah. Um, I believe, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Unless there is something medically conclusive as it relates to a person's mental state, and they may have something prescribed to help with that. Beyond that, I think faith is the primary, coping mechanism. I think healthy relationships, helps. Getting enough rest and water and food, all of those things, create a healthy life. But I do think faith has to be at the top of that list. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a pastor. I'm saying that as a man who's experienced stress. One of the amazing things about being a Christian is you just mentioned that Christ knows something about stress. He does. Jesus was so stressed out in the Garden of Gethsemane that he
Yeah.
blood drops. That was the response, his physical response to the stress and pressure of knowing what he was about to go through. So when we look at Hebrews says we got a high priest who's touched with the feelings of our infirmities. So let's
Yeah.
go boldly before his throne to seek mercy and grace in a time of need, which means what? When I pray to my Savior, I'm praying to a person who can understand stress, who is touched with the feelings of my infirmities. So I can run to him boldly and say, this is too much for me. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed out. I'm frustrated. My prayer don't have to be cute. It don't have to be
Exactly.
a churchy prayer. It can be a 100, I mean, call them a spade
A
type
spade, a
prayer before
spade.
God. Um, because, we're praying to somebody who understands. And so, in that sense, I think faith in the person of Jesus Christ is a real coping mechanism because he really lived this life. He really experienced this stress. He really died on the cross and then he really rose again to give us real hope.
I'm when I think about stress and I think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, when you said that, when the doctor a doctor actually broke down how your sweat can actually turn to blood,
Yeah.
and it say your body has to be in such a distress or in such a stressful state that that's what it does. So in order for Jesus to have to for Jesus to been able to sweat blood at that particular time, he was beyond stressed
He
out.
was.
He
He
had
was.
to be beyond stress doing that for us. So like you said, praying, if it's nothing mentally medically wrong, uh your faith is really the key to handling stress, like when you praying,
Yep.
or when you attend a worship service.
Yep.
And for me, like, I know a lot of people say the church is inside of you. You the church. You what happens in the church. But it's something about when the worshipers, to me, this
Yep.
just my personal opinion. This ain't for nobody else. So it's just something about when the worshipers are together, or
Yep.
we in that same room and we on one accord and we giving worship and we praising, and that spirit comes and hit. That's a beautiful thing to me.
It is.
Because a lot of times, when I go to church, it's to relieve stress. I
Yep.
need to be in church just to when I'm singing, when I'm praying, just listening to the word. I go for that. That's me running to the church to release some stress. When I'm stressed, I'm like, I don't even know what to do
Mm,
anymore. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know where the answer gonna come from. But all I know is if I come to you,
mm.
if I trust you, that you're gonna make it okay. I just
Yep.
gotta have enough patience to see it through, like
Yep.
to trust the process. So a lot of times when we're dealing with stress, we can't want a quick fix answer. We can't want it to come like, you know, everybody want everything to just instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the learning to wait on God, learning to wait, be patient and letting God do what he do. um it's stress within itself. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Be like, God, God, I'm trusting you, God, and I know you said this, and your word said if I cast my cares upon you, and your word said this, and I'm talking to you and I'm hollering at you, but I need you to pull up like ASAP.
Right.
So
Right.
sometimes we get into that mode and we want God to move on our time, and we gotta learn how to be patient. And that's something that I think a lot of Christians still struggling with. Like,
Facts.
especially new, I mean, when you new to the fold and you still learning Christ and you still trying to build your relationship with God, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard, especially when you're going through a stressful time.
Facts.
Like the other thing, I ain't gonna be doing all this talking, Dr. Darrell.
Now it's all good. We on one right now. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, okay, don't, because my I have, boy, I go all day. But so when we talk about stress, and I'm gonna say this, I'm bad cool, because a stressful time in my life, and anybody that know me kind of personally kind of know I struggle with this. A stressful time in my life where I really just needed God. I was like, when I lost my mom,
Mm,
um I wanted to hear from God. I really didn't want to hear from nobody else. I know, being a Christian, being in the church, I know all the cliches. I
mm,
know all the, everything that rubbing you on your back and telling you, she's in a good place, she's in God's hand, and God got you, and God this and God. I know those things. I've
mm.
said them. But when it was my turn to stand to take that walk, I
Yeah.
needed something else.
Yeah.
I needed something else. I was like, God, you got to stand in the paint with me on this one, because
Yeah.
this a pain that I don't understand.
Yep.
So I found myself, I mean, I was asking God, I was like, God, come on now. This
Mm,
my mom. She
mm,
was a preacher.
mm.
I know this lady know you. I
Yeah.
know this lady love you. I know this lady worship and praise you. Her
Mm,
everyday walk, everything she did was you.
mm.
Everything she seen about, talked about, looked at on TV, anything she said, she was repping the kingdom hard. So
Wow.
when she left here, I was like, God, come on now. But one thing my mama said to me before, she was like, now you seen me fall. And when she said fall, she meant in her illness, like when she was real sick. She said, you seen me fall. Now you gotta see God pick me back up.
Whew.
But what I thought she was meaning, that God gonna heal me and I'm gonna get up and
Right.
everything's gonna be okay. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
But where I understood that to be, as I go back and think about all of that I was going through with her, when she, because she would start questioning her faith. And I'm talking about a soldier for the Lord. I'm talking about the strongest woman I know when it came to faith, Christ, serving God, preaching, teaching,
Mm,
singing, all of that. When she was like, God, I know God didn't bring me this far to just do me like this.
mm,
God, why won't you hear me? She went through that phase. But then when she said, you got to see God pick me back up, then when she came out of it, she was saying, it's going to be okay. She said,
mm.
whatever God do, it's going to be okay. And I need you to be okay with whatever decision God makes with me. So when she got back in her fold, when she was preaching before she left here, when she was asking, bring me my Bible, she said, bring me the word. Let's sing this and all of that. The day before she died, she was trying to preach from her deathbed. She was trying to tell me something about God. She was like, Boo,
Mm.
give me that scripture when they say God does not give us the power of fear, but the power of a sound mind and all this stuff. I can't quote it. I'm not the preacher. But anyway, but when she came back and I was like, she found peace. She at peace. She
Yeah.
was at peace. And that was the most stressful situation for me. And I was like, when I buried my mama, some of me was in the grave with her.
Mm.
I was in the grave with her for a minute, and God had to pull me out of that grave and said, you shall live. You gonna live. It's gonna be okay. And when he spoke to me at that moment, I said, this is what she meant when she said God would lift her back up in me. So when I see Christina, my daughter, doing the Lord's work, I was like, God, you better come through. I see you coming through, God. When I see him blessing me, I was like, God, you better come through and show out. So whenever I get in, and I haven't experienced anything else that stressful yet in life, but I
Yeah.
know life is still going. But
Yeah.
I know at the toughest time in my life, at the most stressful time in my
Mm.
life, man, God pulled up on me so strong and he did his thing. So I was like, I can tell anybody, you just got to trust God. You got to be able to give it all to Him and be able to go to Him. And that was my other question to you. When we in these stressful situations like that, is it okay to question God? And if you do question God, is it a right and wrong way to go to Him on it?
Mm.
So,
Uh, I'm gonna start this response off by saying, one of the greatest things about having a relationship with God is He can keep the best secrets.
exactly.
Meaning, even if you go to God the wrong way, He'll keep it between you and Him. Um, to that, I would add that not only is it okay to question, it's necessary. It's a part of the journey of the revelation of who God is. And so, I know in church, old folks will say, "Hey, never question God, never question God."
Yeah.
I get what they're saying. What they're saying, what they mean is, don't disrespect the sovereign authority of God.
Gotcha.
You know, but to say don't question God is saying, well, then Jesus questioned God, David questioned God. Jesus, back to the garden. No, after the garden. You know, on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Forsaking me.
Granted, he was quoting a psalm. So yeah, he was quoting scripture, but that psalm was the sentiment of his heart. Jesus was asking God, why was he being forsaken? The psalmist in Psalm 22 asks the same thing. Lord, why are you forsaking me? Um, why have you left me? So for us to say that people can't question God is to say, well, we got to take out the whole book of Psalms because it's full of
Yeah.
things. You know, Asaph, I believe in Psalm 73, was like, Lord, I don't get how the wicked keep prospering, but the
Oh yeah.
righteous, their wife righteous are struggling. Habakkuk asked the same. Habakkuk, he was like, okay, Lord, now I'm out here as a watchman, and you're supposed to be protecting your people, but I don't understand how the wicked keep winning these wars and your people keep, like, I don't get it, So when it comes to us questioning God, we definitely should. It's a part of the journey of faith.
Okay.
It's disingenuous not to. It's fugazi not to ask God. You being fake if you ain't never asked God a question about something in your life. So you mean
Yeah.
to tell me you that thorough in your faith that ain't nothing ever happened that you been like, all right, Lord,
Exactly.
I don't understand this one, Lord. Why did you
Yeah.
let this happen? How did this happen? I don't understand. So not only is it okay to question God, I think it's necessary. And I think I think we got to remember God is not emotionally unstable. Meaning
Exactly. He can handle it.
he can handle it. He he not gonna lose no sense of self-identity. He not gonna lose no sense of peace. He can handle the doubt, the frustration, the questions. Now, what we can't do is we can't control his response.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like Job, he put Job in his place. Like, okay, Job, hold on real quick. Oh, where were you when I formed the earth? Where were you when I formed
Yeah.
the earth? You see, we can't
Yeah.
control God's response, but I do think it's a healthy thing to ask questions, to even question things that we deeply don't understand, that it's hard to accept. Because what we do when we don't give people permission to ask questions, people internalize things, and that anger can well up. So, what would you rather people do? Question God or live with a deep sense of anger and
System
resentment
anger.
towards God? I would rather you go ahead and question him.
Exactly.
Yeah, then
Exactly.
what he let happen.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times too when we say we trust God, like
Yeah,
one of the faith and stress things, like when we in these stressful situations and we give it to God and we
yeah.
say we trust God, but do we really trust God? Like
Mm.
I can say I trust God, but when the time come, I lose it. You know what I'm saying? I forget everything I've said. I forget all this trust that I said I have, all this faith
Right.
that I said I have. Now I'm about to lose my mind. I'm about to go crazy. And I'm not saying we're not supposed to do something to help our situation. But a lot of times when we get in these stressful situations, we lose it. We
Yep.
forget. And then a lot of times we start doing things that oh, I shouldn't have did that. Then we go back and regret some things. I just should have waited on God. I
Yep.
should have did this. I should have did this. So a lot of times we jump the gun because we saying we trust God, but do we really trust God?
Right.
God, I'm gonna trust you to do this, and I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna work in my faith. I'm gonna wait in my faith, and
Yep.
I'm gonna wait for you however long it takes. And I
Mm.
think sometimes we get impatient, and we like if we do it biblically, we talk about Abraham and Sarah. She
Yep.
got impatient and she don't told Hagar to go on in there and get with
Yep.
Abraham and make a baby. That ain't what God told you to do.
Nope.
But now you got this situation you got to deal with. So a lot of that, I mean, we got to be patient, y'all. Okay, so let me go. Let me keep because we about to have Bible study.
I know, right? Let's do it.
Okay, so how do you think stress affects our Christianity when it comes to being a Christian? Do because it's something in the Bible. If you can help me out, it was talking about when the farmer sowing the seeds and he sow them on different grounds.
Mm.
Like one is like you hear the word, but then as soon as you walk away, you don't do you're
Yeah.
done. Or
Yep.
the another one, like when you hear the word, then something happens in life and it gets you sidetracked, you get off
Yeah.
track. So you kind you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay, so help me out.
Yeah. Jesus told this analogy, I believe is John chapter 13, where he talks about these four types of soil. One soil is fertile, meaning the seed lands on it, grows 30, 60, 100 fold. Another soil falls, by the wayside, and the birds of the air come eat it, pick it up, and that bird symbolizes Satan. Another soil is, it's a rocky soil, meaning it grows up quick, but then when the sun comes out, the heat from the sun, the pressures of life, the stress of life
Yeah.
dries it up. And then another soil is thorny, meaning it falls on this thorny soil and the cares of the world choke it. And
Wow.
so yeah, I think, when you talk about how the stress affect our Christianity, if I could keep it 100 with you,
Oh, please do.
I don't think you really are a Christian
Okay.
until until your faith has faced stress.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like uh, I mean, it's easy to trust God if nothing bad, you know what I'm saying? Like if nothing bad ever happens, it's easy to trust God. And
Yeah.
honestly, to have a stress-free life would make me doubt if you're really following God or not. Because when you read in the Bible, a lot of the people who was following the Lord, I mean, stress is an understatement. We look at
Exactly.
the apostles, they walked with Jesus, the apostles and the women who follow him. When he died on the cross, they were stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? When he rose again, he left all the persecution they were facing, all the above. Um, Scripture says that those who try to live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. I guess my point is we can't really claim to be believers until that belief has undergone the test of stress.
Exactly.
Now,
Okay.
now let me balance that real quick because I don't want nobody to walk away thinking I'm saying something I'm not saying. I'm not saying that means we should be okay with unhealthy dysfunction in our life and accept every type of stress as me bearing my cross. That's not what I mean. I don't mean you let people walk over you and treat you any
Exactly.
kind of way because you say that you bearing your cross and you gotta prove your faith through your stress. What I mean is you live your life asking God to bless you, keep you stress free, and in the process of your obedience, if it comes with stress, you face, you know what I'm saying, you face that stress uh, through trusting God. I'm not saying just let unhealthy
Oh
stuff
yeah.
go
Yeah.
on and on and on and on and on because you're trying to prove how strong you are.
Oh, exactly. And that's the I think that's a misconception that people have about Christians because they feel like that because you're a Christian, you're weak.
Mm,
You let people walk over you, let people get away with things. Um, you forgiving and you forget. And I mean, like, and I'm all for forgiveness and all of that. So
Me too.
I'm with you, but I don't want you to get it twisted that you get to treat me any type of way just because
Right.
I'm claiming Christ and I claim to be a Christian. I understand that people are going to watch how I respond to certain things in certain situations. I know I get that, but don't think I'm weak by a long shot.
Right. Right.
Don't get
Right.
that confused with me being meek.
Right.
You know, okay?
Yeah.
So, and I think they get that they kind of mix that up with us. They was like, Christians are so weak. They blah blah blah. I'm like, what Christian? What church you go?
Right.
What you been doing? Because clearly, you don't know who you talking to.
Facts.
And when a lot of times when I have this conversation with Muslims, um, they the ones that beat up on how weak. You know, I've had them just beat up on how weak, and they say
Mm,
we're passive, and we're not. You know, we're not strong. I was like, in what sense do you
mm.
mean? They was like, y'all too soft. Y'all let people get away with stuff. I say, not that we're letting people get away with things. It's just in the end, God's gonna have the final say, and vengeance is mine, said the Lord. But however, I know how to deal with you. I don't have to react the way that you want me to react, because
Yep.
then I'm giving you control. You
Exactly.
in control over how I'm feeling. You don't get to
Yep.
get that control. So just because I'm not responding the way you want me to respond, don't mean you running over me. It
Yep.
means that until I figure out how to deal with you, I'm keeping you at a safe distance.
Facts.
Okay. Oh, and we're called judgmental. Somebody said we're called judgmental too.
That's a
I get that all the time.
whole nother conversation.
A whole nother conversation. Yes, when they know you are a Christian, they do try to take you for granted and put. But hey, y'all stand strong. Stand strong. Jesus was not weak
Not at all.
at all. Okay, so do you think our religious background play a part in how we deal with stress today, like growing up, or even just having some religious background? Does that determine how we deal with stress?
It can. And I'm gonna be honest. When I hear the word religion,
Yeah.
I think I don't think of good things. I think of trying to look good,
Okay.
um, and not being honest and not being real. So I think if you have a religious background and you face stress, here's why I feel like so many believers and people are frustrated with the church, because you'll have me do all these religious things and demand I do them to please God. But in my doing them, my life is not any better for it.
Okay.
So if religion is your background in the sense of, hey, I gave my money. Hey, I showed up week in and week out. Hey, I volunteered when y'all asked me to. I this and I that and I this and I that. But yet I face some real stress that I don't feel like to use your term earlier, I have the stuff to cope with it. You know, that can cause anger in people who felt
Okay.
like checked all the religious boxes. I think we gotta be in a church space more honest, and it starts with us preachers and pastors. You know what I'm saying? Being honest
Mm-hmm.
about our humanity, being willing for people to know, hey, this robe I got on is made out of the same cotton as as the shirt you got on, or polyester.
Exactly.
It's the same polyester, whatever. You know what I mean? I think it starts there, and I think beyond that, in our religious duties, we really got to ask ourselves: is the stuff we requiring people to do religiously, is it really healthy? Is it going to
Gotcha.
translate to closeness to God? So, hey, I don't want you to just come to service so my ego will feel all right that a couple hundred people want to hear me preach. Now, we really have thought through how this worship experience is going to be, it's going to help guide you closer to God. I think
Exactly.
if we do that, then yeah, my religion will help me cope with stress. But if we just got people checking boxes, oh, I gave my money, I came to this event, I was here on Sunday, but still in the end exasperated and empty, then I think religion does a disservice.
Okay, so that's the religion part. Let's do religion versus relationship.
Okay, run that.
Okay, so we can have a religious background or we can be
Yeah.
religious. Um, but what's that difference when you have that relationship with
See,
God and how it affects?
yeah, I see, and I like the way you differentiated between those two, because relationships with divine and human, that's the honest uh stuff that gets us through the highs and lows of life. Here's what I want to say. You can be in church every Sunday, give your money, such and such, and not have a relationship with God or a relationship with the people who sit next to you on the pew.
Mm,
But if we as church leaders are making disciples, sharing life with people, walking with people through things, and not just checking in with them on Sunday, then we create an environment where relational growth can happen. Divine relational growth, human relational growth. And we all know in a crisis what we do, right? We reach
yeah,
out to
we
people
reach out
who are
exactly.
the closest to us. And so, as church leaders, we want people to know God is the closest to you.
Yes, yeah.
And so are God's people. And so we're the ones who are present for you to reach out to. That won't prevent stress from happening, but you'll have some real people to walk with you through it. First of all, being God.
Oh, okay. So my thing on that relationship again is like you got that personal relationship with God.
Right.
Um like you don't have to go through anybody. I mean, the church is there, of course, and you got that relationship with the church, with your church,
Mm-hmm.
but you got a relation. You and God done got so tight that you be like, okay, I can call the pastor to pray for me, or I can call the deacons or whoever to pray for me. But guess what? I got enough in me that I can pray for myself. I can get
Yeah.
this to start praying for myself.
Yeah.
I can start reaching to God for myself, and I don't have to. That's why Jesus did it. Jesus
Yep.
did that so we can have that relationship to go back to God. And I think a lot of times we get so caught up on people, on the church. I know a lot, and it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Don't
Right.
get me wrong.
Right.
It's a good thing to
I
be
mean,
able to
I
call.
work at a church. I'm gonna work in a church probably for the rest of my life. So
Yes.
I'm all
So it's
for it.
good to be able to call the church and be like, hey, let me speak. I need to talk to Pastor Darrell. Pastor Darrell, look, I'm going through stuff. Need you to come holler. Let's talk. I need some advice or something. That's good. That's a good thing to have. But when you in the hot seat and that pressure coming and it's just you in that room
Yep.
and you don't know where that phone dead and you can't get there, you got to
Right.
have that relationship with God where you can fall down on your knees and cry out for yourself, because
I agree.
this stressful stuff is, man. And since this, like I said, I know the coronavirus and even the vaccine, even with the vaccination, got to have so many people stressed out
Yeah.
because people are not trusting the vaccine. They're not trusting what they telling us. We're not trusting the CDC, the doctors. We ain't trusting nobody.
Yep.
So that's a whole bunch of stress. So even with to that matter, what's your take on that? Like even in this pandemic, what we're going through now.
Whew. Um. I mean, I can't think of a better word than stress
Yeah.
to describe it. Um. Because okay, we talked about stress being the body's response to some unhealthy stimuli. I think stress is also when something is overloaded beyond its capacity to stand. So if you got a little table and you put 100 bricks on a little table, at some point that table is going to be in a distress scenario because it wasn't engineered to hold all them bricks.
Exactly.
All right. So if we look at just the world itself, COVID has been an overload on the infrastructure of the world to the sense where, I mean, it's so heavy on all of us that all we could do is just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all just stop real quick, y'all stop. And I think what hurt us in America is we didn't stop quick enough.
Exactly.
We look at other countries like New Zealand, like in 2020, they stopped for a month and a half, and they was all good from COVID.
Yeah.
But I think COVID definitely brought stress. It overloaded so many industries. School systems got more weight than they could carry. Hospitals obviously got more weight than they could carry. Um, you know, and then also, you know, even churches and social institutions, because people's emotional needs spiked, and resources to meet those needs were kind of like on the fly, because
Yeah.
as a this generation, this time, we've never faced anything of this magnitude. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'm trying to figure out how to say this. We're gonna continue to see the results of how stressful COVID was for years to come.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not even trying to speak prophetically. I'm definitely not trying to speak negatively. I'm just being honest. Like the effect on marriages, on organizations, on the school,
Exactly.
on children in school. You know what I'm saying? So COVID and everything that came with it, and not just COVID. You got to think COVID was happening, and Trump was president.
Exactly.
COVID was happening, and black people were still getting shot dead in the streets of America
Exactly.
without any COVID. You know what I'm saying? So it's all of these things are just nicking us, nicking us, nicking us, and you can see it um in the scenarios like, you know, 75, 85, people just shutting down the whole highway one night in
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, or walking through our city and just, you know, destroying certain districts up in Buckhead and stuff. Definitely not supporting that, but that's just an indicator that
Yes,
the
the stress.
infrastructure is more weight on it than it was built to handle. So something got to change, or it's gonna break.
Okay, now with all of that stress that we got from COVID, from the police racism, from the schools, the hospital, all of that, Trump was in, oh god, number 45 was in
Right.
office, the voting thing that's going on in Atlanta, everything that's going on in Atlanta, the place that we don't have to go to
Yep.
is the church.
Yep.
Now, and I do, and I applaud the churches that's trying to do virtual, that's trying to keep a connection to the people.
Yep.
But everybody, everybody is not so strong that they can say, "Hey, I'm cool without
True.
having church." You know, I
I
don't have
agree.
to be in the church. I can have church in my living room. I can do my praise and worship at home. I can listen to my gospel music and read my word. That's good. I applaud people that can do that. But
Mm-hmm.
everybody not that strong in their faith
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that, and the place that they want to run to is not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to think about the people that are not tech savvy, that can't get on here and log on to all these different churches. And then you got some churches that are trying to you park in a parking lot. So it are some churches out there making a difference.
Yeah.
But the fact that the church was stripped away from us is going to play a role in how we dealing with this stress and COVID and two on down the line.
Yeah, I
That's just
agree.
my that's just my personal opinion. All right, that's just me. So I feel like the one place that we need to be there is not there.
I agree. And you know what? As a pastor, as somebody who's on staff, you know, in a church, we've just been overwhelmed too, caught off guard. We're experiencing this as people first, then as pastors, and scrambling, trying to figure out how to respond, how to serve people. You know, what's safe for the people. Understanding that Black folk are impacted at a higher clip, higher percentage. Who got worse health care. So do we open up? Don't we open up? Okay, if we're gonna stay virtual, how do we do virtual? How do we keep people connected? You know, in all of this, church being closed, pastors being stressed and overwhelmed, feeling like pastors already can feel like we weren't doing enough because, you know, needs were
Yeah,
so high. But even when this came, it's just like, Lord,
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest, we have our moments too. Like I'm sitting there watching the TV, certain news come across the screen, I'm like, Lord, what? I mean, I feel powerless. Like, what can be done?
yeah.
So, yeah.
So oh, somebody was saying EBC Pastor Oliver
Yep, that's my pastor. That's my
is
church.
amazing with the word.
Yeah, he is.
Well,
He's
somebody just gave y'all a shout out on there.
what's up?
And Live It Out said God allowed it so people can turn to Him first. So, do you feel like this was like? I've always wanted to know a pastor's response to why you think COVID happened, and
Mm.
looking at it from I don't want to say religious, but looking at it from
A theological.
theological standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm. All right. So when we talk about, all right, so the general conversation about this is why does bad stuff happen?
Yeah.
Right now, we can drill that down to different specific bad things. In this case, whenever we look at something like whether it's a hurricane, tornado, or a pandemic, right? The question is, did God allow this or did God author this? Like, did God intentionally do this on purpose or did God let this happen? And as a result, the effect would bring us closer to Him. And I think that's where you'll probably find many pastors are split. Some of
Yeah.
us say, well, God sent this to curse us and such and such. Like when Katrina hit New Orleans, God sent Katrina because New Orleans was a city of sin. Like, you would never hear
Yeah.
me say that. But
Yeah.
I think the
I've
point
heard
is
that.
sometimes people can mistakenly think that, um, I think when it comes to COVID, I definitely know God allowed it. He's sovereign. He's in control. Nothing happens without Him allowing it. And I think, like with every other catastrophe, COVID gives us a fresh opportunity to see God in a way we haven't before, and for some of us to return to Him, and for others of us to represent Him in the world. You get to see Him outside of the church house, right? I'm sorry, I dropped my phone.
That's okay.
You get to see Him outside of the church house, right? Sometimes we think God is only at church.
Mm-hmm.
Through this experience, we don't see God at you know God at the hospital. We don't see God, show up in significant ways beyond just during Sunday service. I think scenarios like this give us tremendous opportunity to see God, come back to God. And I know that pleases the heart of God for people to know Him, to love Him, to trust Him, draw near to Him.
Yeah.
Whether or not He sent COVID or not, it's something I can't conclusively answer. Because then I would ask, well, did He send this hurricane? Did He send that tornado? Did He
Yeah.
send the floods? You know what I'm saying? So that's my response.
Okay. Okay. If you guys have any questions, type them in the feed, and we'll try to get Dr. Darrell to answer them when it comes to faith and stress. Um, this has been an amazing conversation. I have really enjoyed having this conversation with you tonight about faith and stress.
I'm
It
glad.
just brought back, and I do agree that God does want us to get closer to Him, and some things like trauma brings us closer to God.
He does.
Sometimes it takes because and I hate to keep going back to my mama, but when I lost my mama, I found myself talking to God so much more because I had so many questions. I wanted to know so many things. Like every morning, I was talking to God, and like
Mm,
I could hardly sit in a church. Like I said, because she was just that was just her. I could hardly sit in a church and not cry because my mama was just that connected to God.
mm,
It was just like any song I hear, church song I hear, anything about church or something would bring back those memories. But I know I found myself really talking to God, like I was really talking to Him, and it was almost as He said, I'm listening. I've been waiting on you this whole time.
yeah.
And here you come. And he was
Yeah.
like there, like with open arms, like, I've been right here the whole time.
Yeah.
But it took you going through that to realize that I'm right here. You accepted me as your Lord and Savior. You've been baptized. You did everything that you were supposed to do to represent the part of being a Christian. Now let's start doing the work.
Yeah.
Let's start walking in that faith that you be talking about. Let's
Yeah.
start walking in that trust that you be talking about. So I do things do happen to draw us closer to God, and I hope that's what we've been doing. Like, I know it's hard to minister from a computer or whatever all
Yeah,
the churches and everybody been doing, but hopefully your word is still being heard. You still bringing people to the fold. You still delivering the good
yeah,
news.
trying to.
And excited about your new book that's coming out. You want to
Yeah,
share something about your book?
yeah, I'm excited about it. It won't be out till next spring. My publisher is InterVarsity Press, and I'm just thankful to God for that opportunity. My book is about how to communicate effectively with multiple generations at the same time.
Ooh.
And so when we look at the age difference, the experience of the generations in churches, how do you connect with everybody without anybody feeling left out?
It's definitely a disconnect.
It
I
is.
felt it's definitely a disconnect, especially with a church the size that you, Elizabeth and Jackson.
Yeah.
It's definitely a disconnect. Somebody wants to know your favorite scripture during stressful times.
Woo.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
them. It's a lot.
I think one of my favorite scriptures is draw near to God and he'll draw near to you.
Okay, cool.
James chapter 4, 7 and 8, resist the devil, he'll flee, draw near to God.
Yeah.
God will draw near to you. Um, that's one of my favorite ones.
I have to use that one. Resist the devil, he will flee. I have to
What?
use
Every
that one
day.
a lot.
Every day, every minute of the day. And look, the later it get, the more we gonna laugh about how much we gotta resist the devil.
Exactly.
What? Shoot. I'm trying
I
to
was
live
like,
right out
oh
here.
my goodness. I was like, oh, resist the devil. I'll get back, saying I have to be rebuking him every time I turn around. So him, I'm so sick of you. Why don't you go on
Yeah,
somewhere?
for real.
Okay, if it's not anything, thank you. We're looking forward to your book. Do you have an IG page or
I do.
Facebook?
Yeah, you can follow me on Facebook, Darrell Hall, first and last name. You can follow me on Instagram. I am Darrell Hall.
Okay.
And so yeah, check me out there, and I'll be releasing more information about the book as it comes out. And I'm amazed. ATA Lynn. My mom was 15 when I was born. I was raised in the Harris Home Projects, Atlanta Public
Oh, I know
Schools.
about Harris Home.
Yeah, that's
I
my
used to hang
stomping
out
ground.
there.
Yeah, that's my old stomping ground. So, in a pandemic, I thought everything was falling apart. And here God bring me this book deal, give me this opportunity. So I'm thankful for it. I pray that the book blesses a lot of people and helps us all communicate better. So,
Okay,
thank
well, it has been awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Darrell, for joining us tonight on Live It
you.
Out. This has really been a joy to my heart, for real. Thank you so much. And we're going to go follow you, see what you got going on. I'm waiting on the book.
Okay.
I'll be waiting on the book because that's something that we struggle with, like in our youth ministry. So that'll be a definitely plus to have to read about how to deal with some of that, reaching these multiple generations.
Yeah.
um, and keep up with them three boys.
I'm gonna try
Some
to.
Look, somebody wants to know if you guys are open yet, and they say we love that location on Cascade.
Yeah, that's our main campus, EBC Atlanta. I was born and raised in that church, so I was baptized in the one on ML King. Then we were close to the y'all then, and then we
Okay.
moved over to Cascade.
Yes, I remember.
Um,
Okay.
so
Okay.
yeah, no, we're not open yet for service on Sundays, but you can catch us on Facebook Live. You can catch us on elizabethbaptist.org at 7:15, 9:30, and noon, all virtual, as well as Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. And you'll be hearing more about when we plan to open soon.
Okay. Okay. So I hope that answered your question, Regina, Clement, one of y'all. So thank you guys again for joining us at Live It Out. Throw your L up there. Throw your L up. Hey. All right. So we're going to follow you. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week.
All right, y'all. Have a good night. Thank
All
you for
right.
having
Have a
me.
good night. Thank you
All right.
again.
You're welcome.